Welcome to Sarah Philosophy, a place to slow down, think deeply, and discover timeless ideas for living a calmer and more meaningful life. What if the life you are chasing is not actually the life you want? You can spend years trying to become more successful, more productive, more admired, and more comfortable. You can fill your days with goals, entertainment, responsibilities, and endless distractions. And still, somewhere inside, you may quietly wonder, is this really what life is supposed to feel like? More than 2,000 years ago, Socrates was asking a question that still follows you today. Not how to become rich, not how to become famous, not how to make everyone admire you. He wanted to know something much deeper. How should you live? And his answer may completely change the way you look at your own life. Socrates believed that the first step toward a meaningful life was to examine it. That sounds simple. But think about how rarely you actually do it. You wake up and immediately continue the life you were already living. You follow routines. You chase goals. You worry about what other people think. You repeat opinions you inherited from your family, your culture, your friends, and the world around you. You keep moving because stopping would force you to ask uncomfortable questions. Do I actually want this? Why am I trying so hard to impress these people? What am I afraid of losing? What I believe is important. And perhaps the most uncomfortable question of all, am I living according to my own values, or simply following the crowd? This is where Socrates becomes surprisingly relevant to your life. He understood that you could be extremely busy while barely knowing yourself. You can know how to make money without knowing what makes your life valuable. You can know what everyone else expects from you without knowing what you expect from yourself. You can become successful at living someone else's idea of a good life and still feel strangely empty. For Socrates, self-knowledge was not a luxury. It was a beginning of wisdom. And there's another important lesson hidden inside this. Socrates was comfortable admitting that he did not know everything. That attitude is powerful because the moment you believe you already have all the answers, you stop looking, you stop questioning, you stop growing. But when you can say, maybe I don't know, something changes. You become curious again. You begin listening. You begin examining your beliefs instead of defending them. You begin asking whether the things you chase are actually worth chasing. This is why a meaningful life does not necessarily begin with finding the perfect purpose. It can begin with removing the false ones. Maybe you were taught that success means having more. Maybe you were taught that happiness means constant pleasure. Maybe you were taught that your worth depends on achievement. Maybe you have spent years comparing your life with people you barely know. Socrates would probably ask you to stop for a moment, look closely, question everything. Not because everything is meaningless, but because your life is too valuable to live automatically. And this leads to one of his deepest ideas. A good life is not simply a life that feels good. It is a life shaped by character. The question is not only, what will make me happy today? It is also, what kind of person am I becoming? Because every small decision is quietly shaping you. When you choose honesty instead of pretending, you become more honest. When you choose patience instead of reacting immediately, you strengthen your patience. When you choose courage instead of constantly avoiding discomfort, you become more courageous. Your character is built in ordinary moments, not someday, not when your life finally becomes perfect. Right now, this means your meaningful life may not be waiting somewhere in the future. It may already be hidden inside the way you live today, in how you treat people, in what you pay attention to, in what you refuse to compromise, in the questions you are willing to ask yourself. And perhaps this is the most beautiful lesson Socrates leaves you with. You do not need to have your entire life figured out. You need to remain awake while living it. You need to notice when you are moving in the wrong direction. You need the courage to question your assumptions. You need the humility to admit when you are wrong. And you need the patience to keep searching for what is genuinely worth caring about. A meaningful life is not necessarily the loudest life. It is not necessarily the most impressive life. It may be a quiet life in which your actions slowly become aligned with what you truly value. So tonight, before you sleep, ask yourself 3 questions. What am I currently chasing? Why do I want it? And if I achieved it, would I actually become the person I want to be? You may not find an immediate answer. That's okay. For Socrates, the questioning itself was part of the work, because the moment you stop living automatically and start examining your life, you are no longer simply passing through your days. You are beginning to live deliberately. And perhaps that is what Socrates knew that the modern world keeps making you forget. A meaningful life does not begin when you finally have everything. It begins when you finally start asking what is worth having. If this made you pause and look at your own life a little differently, subscribe to Sarah Philosophy. Like this video if you believe that some of the deepest answers in life are found by slowing down and asking better questions. And leave a comment with one question you think everyone should ask themselves at least once in their life. Keep questioning, keep thinking, and keep living consciously.